Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Quantum Spirituality, right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest is Ronald Okuaki, Lieber, and we're going to be talking about some wonderful things today. He's an award-winning poet of Jewish and Japanese heritage and explores life in his debut poetry book, The Long Journey Out. His award-winning poetry reveals key messages about identity, belonging, and the human experience, deeply sharpened by his upbringing as a child of a Japanese mother and an American Jewish father in the military family. Having moved 14 times in the first 14 years, he developed a unique lens on culture, adaptation, and inner resilience. These themes echo through both his writing and his 24-year career experience as a psychoanalyst, where listening deeply to others has enriched his understanding of the human psyche. Drawing profound connections between psychoanalysis and poetry, he explores how the unconscious mind and the creative process intertwine, offering insight, healing, and a shared sense of truth. Many people who come to see him as a psychoanalyst are searching for answers, either on how to live or how to understand the world, he says. Some have serious concerns about love, life, and purpose, and others feel like something's not quite right, that something is missing, and the search for how to live life can be aided by psychotherapy, but also by poetry. Welcome to the show, Ronald.
Thank you for having me. That was a beautiful introduction. I thank you for that.
My pleasure. And, a lot of people think, because this is the way society is dictated for so long, compartment, 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 instead of understanding core connection. Everything has a core connection, and the mind, the heart, the soul, the spirit, the body, they're all part of the core. And if we don't pay attention to the core, we're not really understanding the message, are we?
Right. When you say core, I am reminded of the way, in hindsight, that I look at my life, that the various manifestations, poet, psychoanalyst, and now with the psychedelic work, that they're connected. They're anchored in a commonality. So right. So it's different expressions, unique expressions of the same energy or of an energy. Or what is it that I just read? Daemon. How do you pronounce that? Is that Damon?
Damon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's from Jung, and
yeah.
Someone was talking about it with me just the other day, and I thought that resonated. That there's a as if there's I don't know if I'm an essentialist, as if there's something essential that is me, that is I, that is being recognized and expressed from the inside
absolutely
out.
I call that the essence of us.
Yeah.
Right. It's why under quantum spirituality for this label, for this show. And it's like what people in quantum physics have begun to understood, that people that are in spirituality are already on a frequency of connection. Right. And so you have taken, psychoanalysis, the study of the human psyche, and created poetry, but all you've done is tapped into the energy, the rhythm. Right.
Oh, I wish I had this book with me, because I just quoted I used it to quote, to find a quote that reference what you just said, that the energy is from the unconscious. And when
Mm-hmm.
it is utilized and manifested, there is a quality to the being, to the
Yeah.
to the presence of it,
Yes.
and that's, in my mind, what all one can do with one's life is trying to connect to that, see where it goes, you
Go
know,
with the flow.
go with the flow, right?
Yes. Yes. And I think so many people um, live, as I said, a box life, a rigid life, that linear life, uh, and don't understand we are rhythm and rhyme. Everything about
Right.
us is rhythm and rhyme. The oxygen in our body, the blood in our body, the energy, the chi, the wind, the water, the current, everything is in flow. And we are meant to be in constant flow. And if you even look at
Right.
our DNA, it's always dancing and moving and everything
Right.
about it. And yet, somewhere along the line, and I think this is when intellect kind of became dominant, where it was the science and the proof, but without the connection of the understanding, without the wisdom.
When you said that again, something popped into my mind, and I try to listen to it. I try to let my, what comes,
Absolutely. That's
comes.
what it's there for.
Yeah. And there's a neuroscientist, what's his name? McGilchrist. He's an
Hmm.
Australian, and he has a book out called The Master and Its Emissary. And its thesis is that in Western civilization and culture, there's been a corruption
Mm.
where that quote unquote the ego, the
Yes.
analytical part of the mind, in the cliche,
Superior.
yeah, the left brain, right?
Yeah.
That who is in charge is the right brain,
Mm.
the more not unconscious, whose attention is kind of global and picks up vibes from everything. It's all is information, right? And because the ego is there to survive,
Mm.
it's only concerned with the information that helps me, this living organism, survive in this, crazy world it finds
Mm-hmm.
itself in, be it a jungle or a city.
Which
Uh,
is a jungle in itself.
in its jungle in itself. But the relationship has been subverted and corrupted
Mm.
and turned upside down, where the ego thinks it's in charge. But according to McGilchrist, it's in service of this energy.
Mm.
And yeah, yeah. And you see what when we listen to it, when we
Yes.
I'm in the control. Look at the mess
Yeah.
created of the world.
Oh God, yes. I'm in the no brain because I'm in the knowingness. And for me, it's trusting the universal message. That it's the wisdom that I download to my heart in
Uh-huh.
resonance, that I give to my spirit in action, for my mind to know what it needs to know in clarity when it needs to know it. So I call that the no brain. My brain has got nothing to do with it until the wisdom has passed through me, connected with heart and spirit. So I actually
Right.
understand what knowledge is relevant in this moment instead of the hierarchy of knowledge, but where's the wisdom in knowing how to use it?
Exactly. In concert and in relationship with everything else. Like McGilchrist says that the analytical part of the mind wants to utilize and
Mm,
use, you know, and but it forgets it's in service of this
absolutely.
larger
Well, that's
connection.
well, that's what we're here for. I mean, we are all contributors on this planet. There's no free
Right.
rent. We're all here to be of service to one another from the best instrument we can be. And the people that serve the best are those that come from heart, soul, and spirit connection,
Mhm.
because that's the core of who you are. That's the authenticity of your gift that you are sharing. And if you're
Right.
sharing the exterior expectation, you're never going to feel enough, and it's never going to feel enough from anyone else. But when you feel something's coming from someone's heart and someone's soul, you feel it and it's
Right.
enough.
And I experienced that in my practice, a number of people where in my interpretation and understanding of them is they don't they're lost in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
but they're lost because they don't have a connection to their interior world. And
Absolutely.
and 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 when that's not there to help propel and guide my life, I'm only I'm then uh, bombarded with voices from the external world that are
Mm.
telling me do this, do that, and the external values and
You'll
govern
only be
my life.
popular, you'll only be liked, you'll only be
Yeah, or
valued if,
status.
yeah.
Yeah, make
Mm.
lots of money.
Yeah.
But if you have connection to the interior that's telling me in a way, like with my life, I was just talking about this with someone, like early on when I was pursuing poetry. That was clear to me,
Mm-hmm.
clear as a bell. I didn't question it. It just organized me.
Mm-hmm.
So decisions were easy to make
Yes.
because
Yes.
anything
Clarity.
that helped me do that, well, that's what I'm going to do. And I didn't really give a whit about
Mm-hmm.
what job I had because at the time I was young,
Mm-hmm.
and I just took on work that allowed me to pursue this uh, discipline,
Mm-hmm.
this thing with me. And in a way, it makes life easier. In one way, in
Yeah.
another way, it's a struggle, to live
In
poorly.
that world. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah. I've always been this kind of what I call cosmic being, having one hell of a time trying to live as a human. Because
Yes.
I look at some humans and I go, ay vey,
Yeah. Yeah.
why? Why are you so mean to each other? Why are you so cruel to each other? Why are you so
Right.
cruel
Right.
to yourself? Why is this need to push someone down in order to build yourself up? Why can't we be the orchestra and each one of us in our own gifted instrument come together harmoniously to transcend together, right?
Right.
It's
These
this one-upmanship all the time.
and these are beautiful values to live by. And God, this is like weird that I'm meeting you now, and you bring up these ideas that are floating in my life
I'm
this
obviously picking out your energy at the present moment.
this,
You're
this is
projecting it.
this is really amazing. And I love this kind of synchronicity, I'll
Yes.
call it, when it
Yes.
happens. It's very exciting. Like
Mm.
I'm actually excited right now. So
Some good vibrations going on here.
I gotta calm down a little bit.
No,
But
no, no. Let the flight happen. Those that
what were
connect
you
with this will
saying?
connect.
You were saying something that reminded me of something that was just happening. What was it?
Well, we were talking about the outside and just being the cosmic and the human. I've never kind of quite understood why human beings, and I study them in my own way from the cosmic being, right?
Uh-huh.
And I do the true
Oh,
colors.
I know what I was going to say.
Mhm.
To arrive at these values, though, we each have to go through the process. It does. You can't just take them on. This is the
No,
well, I've
no,
seen
no.
this. People who are professing these values, but they wear them like a jacket
Yes.
without having gone and done the work of what the work is. I'm not quite clear, and I
It's
can't say.
tapping into that divine energy and
Yeah,
letting it guide you. It's tapping into the wisdom.
but you have to struggle. Oh, well, I've had to struggle through my life and I don't know. I'm going to use a curse word, the fucked upness of my life, and to work through that to arrive. I don't know how to say this because
Where it makes sense?
yeah, I'm thinking of energy. Okay,
Yes.
it's a metaphor,
Yeah.
and the chakras, the
Hmm.
concept of the chakras, right? And the idea is to have the energy move freely, right?
Hmm.
All the way up. But in our living, because like me, for example, my unique circumstance with my parents and the living I went through created personal
turmoil.
tumult and stuckness,
Yes.
right? My energy and energy gets bound in
Mm.
these psychological complexes uh, around envy,
Mm.
around competition. Right now, I'm a little, but it gets bound in these psychic, yeah, complexes and
Conditions.
conditions, circumstance,
Mm.
and you have to, you can't just wish them away. You
Mm.
have to do the work to free the energy, to liberate it so that it can move on to the next stuckness that I have to work through. And it's this constant process of freeing bound energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
psychological energy. I hope I'm making
No,
sense.
but the whole point of about life is I've interviewed people that have had the most horrific things happen to them, like
Right,
never ever should happen to a human being. But they made a choice. This may have happened to me, but I'm going to decide what I do with it. And they
right,
found their courage, they found their strength, and they went through the process of
right.
self-discovery, you
Mm-hmm.
know, finding the wisdom in it, finding the meaningful purpose in it, and who can I illuminate now? Because
Mm-hmm.
we're never given a journey without a purpose. We're never given a struggle or even suffering without a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
the suffering and the struggle is our choice. We can suffer or we can struggle. And I think they're two different things. Suffer, I think, is to get caught up in it and be victimized and kind of stuck in that realm. When you struggle, I'm struggling to get through it. I'm struggling to
Right,
to
right,
find my chi, my energy flow.
right.
Each step that you take and you free your energy, right? It makes the
Right,
next
right,
step
right.
easier and easier and easier.
Yes.
And so,
Right,
whatever obstacle comes your way, you may be stuck for a moment, but you know which buttons to press to release and
right,
let the energy go.
right. I'm yes, I hear it. But as I'm hearing you, I also want to plead for compassion
Mm,
for the person who is suffering
yes,
from traumas of living.
true, true.
You
Yes.
know, because I've seen too many people where the energy gets bound in self-condemnation and self-loathing,
Hmm.
uh, where there's this voice telling them they're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. And I have compassion for that, but at the same time, I see the work is in freeing the energy that's bound in this demanding voice that where I never measure up to whatever
Hmm.
some not crazy idea,
Delusional societal expectations. Yeah, yeah.
which may have been given to me from my parents, from
Yes,
my culture.
society. Yeah,
Who
absolutely.
knows from
Look at
where
your
that
two
comes?
cultures. I mean,
Right,
they're both extremely steeped in their traditions, right? And it's
right,
like those two cultures coming together. I imagine there was quite a lot of clash.
right. I do like the idea that both cultures have a long history,
Hmm.
and they have a history of an aspect of wisdom that's part of the culture, you know,
Yeah,
and
more of a depth. But
yeah,
that depth came from the longevity,
right,
right? And
something,
when you're looking at young countries like North America and even Cayman in Canada, and they're immigrant countries and they're still very, very young. And although the depths have been brought from other cultures, as a collective culture, it's still in its infancy and it's still trying to, prove themselves. And in that, trying to prove yourself and look for approval and look for, do I count? You actually create your own suffering
right,
because you're constantly looking for something to validate you, where the only person that
right,
can validate you is your inner self.
exactly. Yeah, I find myself always, when I hear this, I agree with all this, but I still have compassion for the person who's
Yeah, yeah,
stuck in that suffering. because
Yes.
I understand how it happens, and what is it that drives, and this is the mystery for me. What is it with, I guess, according to Freud, the suffering becomes too great, and that
Mm,
propels one into what might become a path of discovery.
hmm.
Because I was wondering, what is it that propels individuals to begin this search, to begin this journey of discovery and self-discovery? What is that? Some people do it, some people don't.
Yeah, and I used to be a person that will go into someone's darkness to try and bring them into the light. And I realized I can't do that unless they're willing to come out of the darkness. So I call
Right.
it the sunny side of the street. I've worked to get to the sunny side of the street, but I can't go over to the dark side of the street and pull them out unless they're willing to come into the main road. If they're
Mm-hmm.
on that main road, you're now willing to help yourself. So I'm willing to help you with the tools and skills and the knowledge you need to apply to walk
Mm-hmm.
forward, right? But unless somebody realizes, and this is something I've done over 3,000 shows and I'm 70, so I've been around a while. But unless you get to that point where you say, I don't want to suffer anymore,
Right.
it doesn't matter what people offer you as a way out.
Right.
You've got to be willing to apply it. And I feel for the people that are suffering. I've spent my life as an empath feeling for them. But I've
Uh-huh.
also understood that when I went in there to try and rescue them, it depleted me because all
Right.
they did is sucked my energy to support their suffering. So it's
Exactly.
part of our life's journey, I think, is to understand when is it enough and when am I going to decide to take a different path. And I think that's
Mhm.
part of the human journey.
Well, I was fortunate, I think, and this is, I'm going to introduce, I don't know if it's controversial, but I feel fortunate in this because it's a contingent event that
Mm,
I think propelled me into my life.
hmm.
I'll call it, for woolly-headed thinking, destiny,
Hmm.
rather than fate, because
Or
fate
redirection.
happens, destiny, it emerges.
Yes.
Uh, is a psychedelic
Hmm.
experience I had when I was young, and that experience so perplexed me. It showed me something. I don't know how to say it,
It
because
woke you up.
it woke me up, but into what? This is where,
Yeah.
when you said quantum spirituality,
Yes.
that my,
Yeah. Yes.
because what I experienced did not have words.
Mm-mm.
I don't know how to talk about this because it's ineffable, but where I don't even know if I was there, where the experience was without objects.
Yes.
There was no
Yes.
I, and there were no things. There were
No.
no things.
No.
Was And that's what's ineffable. I don't know how to describe it.
Mm. I describe it as because I used to go up into the universe, and I still do when I have a chance. And it is a place where you feel everything and nothing, right? There is no connection to body that weighs you down,
Right.
right? You are in the universal knowledge, which is abundant, but you also are in a space of nothingness where you don't need to know anything until you need to know it.
Right.
And you feel so supported and you feel so abundant, but so peaceful and so calm.
I would add to that, because you use the pronoun you, and I want to emphasize the aspect that there was no you, I, they,
No, no,
anything there.
no.
There was a sense. I liken it to the
A part
metaphor
of, a
of,
part of.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I liken it, I was just part of the energy.
Yes, I
Just
was the energy
right,
because I was that instrument in the universal orchestra,
you
right?
know.
And it is so calming and so peaceful and so abundant that I didn't need to prove anything. I didn't need to validate anything. I didn't need to know anything. I was supported. And whenever I go there, that's where I am. And
Mm-hmm.
it is a place where I feel no pain because I live in pain in the body. I feel nothing but enriched and abundant, calm and peaceful, connected and supported
Right. And that's what
and
propelled me
enlightened.
into poetry, because I had this experience and I then sought affirmation of it. I
Mm,
sought in other texts, works of art, anything that spoke to what
mm,
I thought I had experienced. Like I know there was a before, I know there was a like 10 o'clock and then there was 6 o'clock at night, but what in between, I don't know.
yeah.
And it sent me into looking, like reading poetry, and I found hints of it in poetry, and then other, like, religious texts,
Mm.
Eastern texts. I don't, I right now I'm,
It sent you in discovery,
yeah,
right? And
to
but
read,
that's sometimes all it's meant to do. It
right,
is that kind of switching you on, not to I need to know, is that I need to, because your subconscious knows how you felt. And
right,
it's like, how can I find this feeling again and through what? And it will always open the door to where you want to go. And for you, it was the energy and the rhythm of poetry, which
right,
also goes along with your inquisitive mind of understanding the human psyche.
right.
So it takes kind of the wiring of your practical along with your heart and soul purpose, and it gives you a rhythm in order to pursue.
Can't agree anymore. Yeah, it was a right.
But it, you're not the first person I've interviewed that has used the psychedelics as a breakthrough, and every single person has said it's not about getting high; it is
No.
about breaking through.
Oh, I'm so cautious. I know people use psychedelics to have fun and for recreational
Mhm.
purposes, but when it's used, what I would call properly,
Yeah.
it's very, as someone said, intentional. It's done with solemnity and seriousness. And like when you do them, people wear an eye mask because the whole intent is to go inward
Yes.
and let the medicine seep and show you your unconscious, so to speak.
That thread that is with
Right.
that
Yeah.
alter divine essence. Yeah. Yes. And everybody, they've said they've come from post-traumatic stress, or they've come from this, or they've come from that. And when they had that breakthrough, a human word will be epiphany. And the epiphany was they found their thread to their core,
Right.
their
Right.
download of their wisdom, knowing how to access the mind in clarity, to be
Mm,
at peace with
right.
themselves and their role in it. And isn't that what we all want?
Well, yeah, a calm is good. Yeah, I enjoy that, but we are human, you
Well,
know.
that's the other side of things. So
I
how do
have
you merge them together?
I aspire toward the Buddha, or the idea of the Buddha,
Mhm.
or what ideas I have of the Buddha, and I aspire towards what I think that consciousness is. But, like in the concept of reincarnation, and
Mm,
you keep repeating until you've worked through and worked through and
yeah.
worked through in different lives, and then you finally attain enlightenment, if that is so. But I buy that. I mean, when psychedelics, whatever is stuck comes, and it's an opportunity for me to work through whatever that is. And there's, because people work through shame.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Shame is very inhibiting and
Mm,
very, it, it consumes attention and energy and being. And we all have those kinds
mhm.
of things: shame, people who are like the last person I've journeyed. This person had an issue with anger,
Mm-hmm.
and that issue affected his life and how he lived his life. And so in the journey, he got to confront and at least approach his fear of being angry, let's say. And he got to work through it. And when you work through the
Mm-hmm.
bound complexes, when they're worked through, that energy that is bound in this, keeping maintaining this psychological state of being, is freed. I mean, it's
Yes.
literally freed
Yeah.
to for life purposes.
And when you talk about the word anger, I think there's two different types of anger. There's an inner anger that you don't quite understand, and it's accumulation of maybe things have gone, done you wrong, or done this or done that, and you're angry about it. And then there's the anger of what's going on in the world. And I think we can't put the two angers to the same, because the anger,
No.
what's going on in the world, is fighting injustice and stepping up for the people that have
Mm-hmm.
become victims at someone else's hand, which we are seeing
Oh,
magnified like unbelievable right now. The inner anger, in a lot of ways, is more detrimental, because the outer anger, you're going to find other people the same. How can you come together again as that harmonious choir
right, right.
to put things right? Because it's the common denominator of where that anger is targeted. The inner anger sometimes has no reason. It's just, remember, somebody did this to you, somebody did that to you, somebody did this to you, and
There
you're
you
angry and
go.
you're angry and
Right,
you're angry, and it builds up, and it blows out of proportion. And then you feel everybody, is to blame. And it's like the pointing finger. While you're pointing finger at the world that has made you feel like this, there's three fingers pointing back at you. All right. Where's your accountability, responsibility, and your action, to look at where that anger comes from and release it. Because
right,
anger causes dis-ease within yourself, your psyche, your being, your body,
right,
which will bring about a disease.
right, right. Because when now when we when you're talking, then I'm the psychoanalytic part of me comes online, so to speak. And then on this level of living, what I find is this, like, kind of basic Freud. There are feeling states
Mm,
that are very uncomfortable to experience.
mhm.
You know, Uh, they're intolerable. Like,
Yeah.
if you know rage, if you've experienced rage at its pit, where it's in its most annihilating power, it's scary,
Yes.
very scary,
Yes.
right? Or when you feel libidinal desire, I'm trying to imagine, like, what is it to be 11, 10, 12 years old, and then suddenly these feelings consume your body, and
Mm-hmm.
they create funny feelings. They're problematic feelings
Mm-hmm.
to manage and tolerate. Now, why am I saying that? So what happens is we try to avoid them.
Yeah.
So in one simple dictum is, I want everyone to have all their feelings, because
Mm-hmm.
they're just
Yes.
feelings. But people confuse feelings with action and behavior, and that gets scary. So
Yes.
I feel anger, I want to, like, annihilate my mother. Well, I can't do that. My mother supplies me my love. It puts me in a quandary. And so it starts a habit, or a mechanism of pushing away feelings, a feeling. And once you start that mechanism works on all feelings to a
Yeah.
degree. So in some ways, like moving the energy,
Yeah.
keep the energy flowing. Let the energy of the feeling be present, because it's like weather. It's there, and then it goes, and then another feeling comes.
Yeah.
And if you can live like that, you get into the flow, and then who knows where that will take you,
Mhm.
you know? I
I
hope
call
that
it,
makes sense.
spending your emotion, but not becoming emotional about your emotion.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. You don't have to behave angrily.
Right. To
You
acknowledge the anger within
the
you, right?
anger within. But if
Yes.
you avoid knowing the
Mm.
anger, that's that energy of the feeling is going to seek another way out.
Yes. But this is a lot to do again with that societal thing or cultural,
Right.
depending where you're from. Like I'm British. My dad died at 45. And I think a great deal of it was, he was a fighter pilot in the war, a squadron leader. At the end of the war, there was only two of them left, and both of them died in their 40s. He ran a business with his brother, whom he hated and was incompetent. He was in a marriage that was um, a little too demanding for what he could give. And, eventually his heart gave up. He couldn't take it anymore. And a
Right.
lot of that
Right.
was because he was not allowed to express it. What did he do? He drank it.
He drink. There
Yeah,
you
right.
go.
So, that's the problem. It was stiff upper lip, man. The war is over. Get on with it. And it's like balderdash. If we do not acknowledge that emotion is going to take control one way
Yeah.
or the other.
One way. Yeah. 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 You're incredible.
The whole point is we keep seeking permission. We look for permission on the outside to feel or to go through the feelings or feel validated for our feelings or even feel validated to take the journey. I've just been in a book saying I'm not selfish, I'm just not easily manipulated. And each one of us contributed a chapter to what that selfishness meant. And for me, it was from, selfish to self-love. And it is not being selfish to find that love of self, because when you're in your love of self, you're in abundance. And when you're in
Right.
abundance, your cup runneth over, right? But I think, again, going back to traditions are great until they get to a point where they stifle our
They
growth,
stifle.
right?
Right.
And
Right.
this is where we need to kind of look at, you don't need permission from anyone else. The only person that needs your permission is yourself. And when you decide to place love and value upon yourself, you start setting yourself free.
Right. But it's easier said
Oh, I
than done.
know. I
I want to
know.
keep
It's taken me
emphasizing that.
years.
We all hear that,
Yeah.
but God, the amount of people that I see who I could say don't like themselves,
Mm-hmm.
it's just incredible.
I know. And why don't they like themselves? Because they're looking for the outside approval, the outside validation. And they feel, if I'm not enough for the people out there, how can I be enough for the person in here? Well, the
Right.
person in here is being suppressed, dying to be connected to the universal wisdom, dying to come out into its beautiful, meaningful purpose, dying to show you everything that it's got. But you've been suppressing it by these expectations on the outside.
Right. Which are there,
Yes.
you
Oh,
have to
yes.
contend with them,
And
it's
but the
not
willingness to
easy.
face them and say, you can't help it. I've got a saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
However, leave it there for long enough, it's going to realize it's thirsty. And that's the point. When people realize they're thirsty, the old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. Right? You
Yeah.
you can't help anyone. You can't help anyone until
No,
they're willing to come and work with you
they
for
need
them.
to come. Right,
Yeah.
right, 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 right.
But your
Yeah.
poetry can be that water, that the poetry can open up those energy signatures in them where they kind of say, why am I so connected? Or why does this speak to me? Why do I resonate with this? And this is the seeding that starts wanting to open things up within them.
Right. Well, yeah, in my mind, the poetry, what I hope it does, there's something on the blurb that I like, whoever wrote it, but it's something about a shared sacred mystery.
Mm.
Poems hint, and that's all I could hope for, that they evoke in the reader the sense. I hate trying to label it. but I would like to say that a hint of the mystery and the divine that is everywhere present in,
Ignite their heart and soul,
you know.
right? That ignition. And sometimes that's all it takes. Again, I've been doing this a long time. And then people who have been in addiction or people who have been doing down this road or serial entrepreneur, and then like hit rock bottom again. And I've got to say the universe gives you a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And if you're not listening, it's going to give you a cosmic 2x4. And for some people, they get many cosmic 2x4s before they realize they need to listen. And then suddenly there's one person or one book or one something there, one podcast that speaks to them, that because they've opened up enough to suddenly listen and pay attention. And then, that's when you're there, you can help someone. You can't help them until they ask for it, until they're ready for it. But
Right,
I think if we could just slow down and stop chasing and
right.
realize that there is a rhythm to everything in life. It's tapping into that energy. Um,
Mhm.
the universe gave me a saying 7 years ago. The universe is going to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up, to change it up, and to grow up to a higher frequency, but also grow up.
Right.
Right.
You,
And we're there. We're in that shaking up.
about that, I just was with someone today who was talking about portals.
Mhm.
And when you say the universe presents, uh, you have to, and this is what she was talking about, you have to be ready to
Mhm.
see the portals that are there.
Yes.
Because I got into this, I remember, I don't know how I got there, but someone suggested, you know, that I do an analysis.
Hmm.
Uh, and for some reason, I was ready to hear it. And because that person came into my life and presented this to me, that opened up a line of living that would
Yes.
never have
It made
happened.
sense.
Yeah, had I not picked up on it, was ready
Mm.
for it. And it was the same way I became an analyst.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's
I mean, all paths. I mean, let's say we have many chapters in our book of life, and we have many paths that we take, right? And the thing is, this I say this pretty well in every show. There is the common sense fear. Don't put your hand in the fire. Don't walk in front of the bus. Don't walk down a dark alley in the middle of the night, right? Common sense fear. Listen to the hairs on the back of your neck. Know when fear is talking to you that it is actually dangerous to go and do something.
Mhm.
But stop looking at the unknown as fearful and look at it with a sense of wonder, a sense of inquisitiveness. What's down this road? What's behind this door? What else is there to discover?
Right,
Take common sense fear with you. It will protect you. But I feel that we've become so fearful as a human nation that we're scared about all the doors around us and we won't open up any of them. And we get ourselves worked up over something that we don't even know is even going to hurt us. And if we
right.
go with a true heart and a pure soul and we open that door, it will always lead us down the right path, even if it's bumpy.
There's a truism in psychedelic guide work, because fear is
It's a big one.
present in a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
So, so when fear emerges in the journey, they're often counseled to go toward it.
Mm-hmm.
Go toward what you fear. And the irony is that which you fear, as you approach it and engage it, becomes your ally,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this transformation that has to happen in the engagement with the fear. Um,
And the severing. Because let's face it, there's a hell of a lot of fear mongering going on, and of course, in North America at the present moment, it's massive, and everybody, and there's something to be fearful about. Obviously, that's why we need to empower ourselves to do something about it. But there again, the fear of the unknown and the fear of unreason. And when you're dealing with people that have no reason, that are unreasonable, that are on their own agenda,
uh,
that you you're dealing with something that no amount of cosmic energy is going to do anything, because
Right.
they're on a different plane altogether. And so we can't waste our time on trying to reason. What we have to do is empower ourselves and find our own vibe tribe where we can be that
Right.
illumination.
Right. Vibe tribe. I like that. I just read a paper, talk about Vibe Tribe. I read a paper by a colleague who I don't know well, but was a colleague. And I read this paper and I wrote back. I said, I felt I was with a kindred spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and that we shared the same values around what we're talking about, some quantum unconscious or the unconscious of existence or whatever it's called, but that we shared that, and that's always exciting.
Very much so. So, Rich, when I get to have people like yourself and do shows like this, for me, this is,
You know,
cream on the top. I love it. But, this is what I feel the universe is trying to be say to us for so long. We should have evolved to a higher consciousness by now. And we're so behind on our human evolution of that higher consciousness. And I think this is why that shakeup is there. We shake out the opulence, the entitlement, the greed and the need for power. And when you look at it for what it is and see how crippling it is, and how demoralizing and how degrading and how destroying it is, then it's then for us to make different choices in our lives, or something that's more meaningful. And the pendulum always kind of swings from one to the other before it finds a happy medium. That's part of the journey of life. But I think we are invited with a great big huge neon sign from the universe, please rise up to this higher consciousness. It's within you. You will never be alone. We're with you. Tap in and we'll help you find your reason for being here.
nice.
But that's the reason why you're here, because you were chosen a path which came to you as that awakening, that, poetry was a way forward in order to use in your analysis. Because
Right.
if you're talking black and white and this and that, how much attention are you going to get? But when you
Right.
talk in rhythm and rhyme, and people just automatically, body, everything starts tuning into it. And then it's speaking to the subconscious as well as the conscious.
Right. But in each of us manifests this uh, quantum unconscious in a
Mhm.
unique way. That's
Yes.
we have to understand. There, each of us, it's like all roads lead to Rome potentially.
Hmm.
There are different ways to arrive, but you arrive, what I would hope, at a common place. So,
And what is that commonplace? And that's this heightened consciousness. Again, back to being the orchestra. The orchestra isn't made up of one instrument. I believe that we're on a journey to discover what our instrument is, learn how to play it well,
mm-hmm,
then join an orchestra in our strength, but be willing to come together in harmony in order to transcend. And that is what is our instrument? What's our calling? What's our meaning for purpose?
what's
What's
our
the gift that
calling?
we were
Right.
giving? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single one of us is being given a gift. And like the janitor and the CEO are on an equal level as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's every single one of us has a role to play. And when we play it from a place of self-satisfaction, I'm honored to wash the floors and the toilets, or I'm honored to lead a company, and you're doing it from heart space and soul space,
Right.
then you truly are making the music that other people want to
Right.
hear.
You reminded me of that movie by Herzog, A Perfect Day. I don't know if you saw it.
No,
It's a,
I don't know that
it's
one.
about a person who cleans toilets in
Mhm.
Tokyo, but who has an awareness of, I will call, the immanent divine.
Mhm.
But he goes about doing his work and he does it well. It reminds me of a Buddhist thing, chop wood, carry water.
Mhm.
Whatever the task is, just do what's in front of you.
Do
And
do it with a sense of pride and honor and
or,
ownership
or, or being present to
of
it.
being present. It's
You know?
it's just as important. People look at it. It's a menial job only. And no, your bum sits on that toilet. You want it to be clean. So you want to know that somebody actually is taking pride in making that clean. And I think that again is that outside life. You're only worthy if you're all A's or you've got these degrees or you're this
Right,
rich or you're
right.
that popular. When we look at how each one of us are contributing, even the village idiot has a role to play. And when
Everyone
we
has
honor those roles, instead of, I'm more important than you, then we actually understand what unison really means.
right. Yeah, I'm all for that. But that's pure Marxism, where each according to his need, and everyone has what you would call a gift and role in society, and one role isn't any more valuable
Mm-hmm.
than the other. They
It all
all
has its place.
has its place.
Yes,
So that's a
exactly.
wonderful, beautiful idea. And yet, we are human, filled with the seven sins or whatever you call the base emotions that, keep us from being
Could you
together.
call that the human flaw or the human complexity? Because, are these the things that we have to face and challenge in order to step into our divine purpose as a human being?
We have to work through
Yeah.
them. I mean, that's what I understand, the concept of karma and reincarnation is that whatever the stuck has to be worked through and
Yes.
worked through to the energy is complete. This is all metaphor. Energy is completely available for
Download.
whatever.
Would you find out, your poetry is much like that? That, I mean, do you know the words that you want to write, or do you open up and allow?
I would say the latter.
Mm,
I mean, and when poetry was always discovery.
mm,
Rarely did I know where the poem was going
yeah.
until the poem was
Ah,
writing itself, so to
yes.
speak. And then it would, you struggle and struggle, and then something happened,
Yeah.
and you
Did
know,
you find that perhaps your analytical mind got in the way, or were you able to step out of that analytical mind? And subconsciously, the analysis of your understanding then transforms into the rhythm of your poetry. Did you find there was that merge?
I don't know if it's like that, but I will say both, I think, honor the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I use that word without definition. But it's akin to what we were talking about earlier with McGilchrist, that the ego is in service of this global unconscious awareness, though that's an oxymoron. Uh, yes, so when I'm operating like that, things happen that are wonderful.
Mm.
I'm
See,
open.
I get the feeling from you that even your analysis of the human psyche is very, very much governed by the intuitive, that
That's the word.
you have the fact, but it's the intuitive that guides again the
There you go.
wisdom of the knowledge.
It comes to my experience as
Yes,
intuition.
yes.
All that is to me is I'm available
Hmm.
to what is there coming, emerging in my mind.
Right.
It's all there.
Yeah, it is all there. And basically the analysis part of it is that your brain is wired to understand that and actually to know how to use the wisdom. And that's what I'm always saying to people is if you're head based, that everything's got to be the head. Well, that's a data, it's a computer. How do you know which
Yeah,
is important? When you feel it, you trust the wisdom,
right,
your heart, your soul, your spirit, and you trust that knowledge that comes forth.
right,
That is the wisdom of the knowledge and not the knowledge for knowledge's sake.
right. When the knowledge is connected to the
Mhm.
feeling, then that
Yes,
is
yes. Yes.
Otherwise, it's just abstract. It's just
Yeah. And if I think it and don't feel it, I guarantee I'm going to make a doo-doo. I'm just going to be
right,
wrong,
right,
right? So, but
right, right.
I have to feel it. And if I don't feel it, it ain't happening. Right. So,
Oh,
and I feel this is in the past, it would be psychoanalysis and be very clinical and very scientific. And what we're now, again, so many people I've interviewed over the years, psychotherapists, psychiatrists, etc., is saying that's the science of it, but where's the spirit of it? Where's the energy of it? And instead of sacred therapy, how do we bring the heart and the soul into the being? And when we do, that's when we find the equilibrium.
wonderful. Yeah, I sometimes think, I don't know how quite to say it, that psychoanalysis is Western civilization soul practice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, in the original translation, psyche it's soul. It's the
Yes,
soul, you know.
yes. And
So,
that's, for me, is most certainly the end of the governing. If my soul don't feel it, it ain't happening, right? It's got to connect with the heart. The heart's got to get energized by it because that's what lifts the spirit interaction, and I think we've been so conditioned, even in religion, it's an outside experience again. I go to church to for God to say pat on the head or I'm with you,
right,
rather than the God within you. God, universe,
right.
spirit, soul, energy, source. We never travel alone. And when you tap in, it's always with you because for you are a part of.
Yeah. I mean, when you say that God is within, I mean, Jesus is quoted as saying that in the
Mm,
Gospels.
yeah.
God is within. Well,
Yes.
what that means, that's for the individual to make sense of. To think of God as a thing, an object called God is, in my mind, completely ridiculous.
Right.
Uh,
And also, God isn't fearful or judgmental. He doesn't care. Black, white, pink, polka dot, gay, straight, rich, poor, doesn't care. It's
no,
about your heart and your soul and your connection. That's how God sees us. And it all comes from a space of love. And if any religion doesn't come from that space of love, it's a human religion, not a godly religion.
but see, even in that statement, I would take issue with the idea God sees us. That
Mm-hmm.
that puts it into human terms, and it says there's a thing called God, and that this thing called God sees me. I, to me, that kind of language doesn't apply to this quantum spirituality
Right,
realm.
right.
It just doesn't
No, because you see
work
yourself.
like that.
Yeah.
It just
It's,
does. I don't know what it is, but
I mean,
I
I've always been utterly fascinated by the human psyche. Why do people do what they do? um, what drives them, how can one person go for the same experience and become this and another person become that? And that's what drove me into trying to understand the personality traits, with very much the way we
Mhm.
interact and are perceived. And it helped me kind of understand the human side of things. um, but it's still like, people more and more now go, oh, I trust my gut, or I come from that place of intuition.
Right,
And I
right.
say, it's great that you're doing that, but remember, it's not an outside thing. It's just opening up and igniting within you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like, cosmic Amazon store that you're downloading the information from. It's something you're igniting within you that is open to receive. And I think that's I'm glad people are going that way, but at the same time, there's still a journey, quite a big journey to be had.
Right.
So the book obviously can be found on Amazon.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
I could be. It's on all the major book sites, I guess. You can go to my website if you want to find out
yes,
more about me.
yes,
There are two ways to my website. I think if you type in The Long Journey Out, you'll get to the page with the book, but on that page, there are tabs that then are about the psychoanalysis and the guide work and other uh, matters. Or you can get This is through ronaldlieber.com, Lie as in Edward, B as in boy, ER, or this is harder, Ronald Okuaki Okuaki. It's very phonetic. Ronald Okuaki and you'll get to my website, and the book is there, and
And
more.
you're on Facebook as well, just as Ronald
I'm
O.
not
Lieber.
too much. I am on Facebook. I'm trying to find someone to manage it because I am not a social media person. Which is a hindrance in today's
Yeah,
world.
I know. I have a brother who's a professional writer, and he's not on social media either. So,
I,
and the thing about social media, I think, is kind of just look upon it as almost another client, and it's all about interaction, right? It's posting some inviting dialogue and responding to people. So, a lot of people get intimidated by it, but when you use it in a way as another form of connection, it really opens up
oh,
the world.
oh,
So
well, I haven't experienced it like that. So,
it's all an algorithm. Remember, we're an algorithm. What we put out
right,
is what we receive. And so what we put out on social media is an algorithm as well. So it's like,
right.
don't be afraid of it.
Well, I kind of am, but only because of the technology or whatever. Just I'm a bit of a Luddite. So,
Yeah, and here I am at 70 using AI. I actually,
oh,
this
you
is really,
are?
oh, I interviewed AI. I had an amazing conversation with AI in a delightful voice. So, yes, and which is a collective knowledge of the human knowledge, right?
Right, right.
So, just like universal knowledge is human knowledge, and when you set it free to be, and it's tapped into my soul rhythm, and it really is quite extraordinary. And I think it's like
Yeah,
I am an explorer, of
right.
you know,
You're
uh,
open to it. That's nice.
yes,
Being flexible is a wonderful state of being. I mean, rigidity has its place. There's time where being rigid is good, but I find often that being rigid is the and if and a hindrance in life if one is
you
rigid.
can turn to stone and then you just aren't able to move forward. I think that instead of rigidity, there's pause.
Right,
Stand still right now, and this is not the time to move forward, right? But it don't. I think it can lead to complacency of I'm too comfortable in my misery that I don't want to move forward, or I'm too scared to move forward, and biggest thing I think more dangerous is apathy.
right. That's where did I read somewhere that apathy is the opposite of love,
Hmm.
not hate,
No,
which people
if
think.
somebody's got hate, they've still got passion. If
Yeah,
they have apathy, there is nothing in there,
nothing. Right.
right? And that's
Right.
scary. That's more scary because there's no connection whatsoever. There ain't even a pilot light there to turn up. So that's
Right.
more scary. But
Yeah.
ultimately, we're here on this journey of self-discovery. And, your book, very, very simple in its cover, The Long Journey Out. And whatever way is going to help us connect, whatever way that is going to help us resonate, because that's what we want. We want to resonate. We want to relate and resonate with something that ignites something inside of us, give us food for thought, or feeds us from the inside out.
Mhm.
And anything that can go along that way to help us on our journey. Maybe it's calming, maybe it's revealing, maybe it's seeding. But until you're willing to read it or experience it, you're not going to understand its impact.
Right.
And it's, like meditation. It's not hurry up meditation. I haven't got all day. It's about partake a few poems at a time, let them
Right.
digest, let them sit, right? And it's not about rushing through life, right? It's about
No,
being present and savoring every bite of life.
I like that.
Thank you so much for sharing with us today,
Yeah.
and for going on this journey of allowing yourself, because very many people with the analysis side of things get stuck in that, and
Mhm.
don't look open the other side. But it's allowed you to pursue and
Right.
and to trust the intuition and to go further of what if.
Right.
There's the what if, oh, there's the what if.
Yes.
Right? And when you get into the what if is there, what if I open this door and there's something marvelous behind it? I think that's where we need to be a little bit more wondrous. So thank you for being
Right.
wondrous.
Wondrous. That's what someone said of the poems, full of wonder. Yeah.
And that's what we need desperately. Full
Yes.
of wonder. I'm always saying that books are a wonderful gift to give at any time. But somebody's got a birthday coming up, somebody's going through troubled times. You want to have it at the office, in the coffee room. This is the type of book to bring in that people can pick up and they can look at. And I'm sure that I find with many books, what do I need to know right now? And I just open the book. And I'm sure if you do that, there's a poem there that is so
Yes,
apropos
there
to what
would
you
be.
need to know right now. Right.
Right.
So buy the book, share the book, and yes, have a book club, but don't forget to have a podcast club. Listen
Yeah.
to the podcast, take notes, and share, because it just gives you a bigger meal to digest. But it's about not just, oh, that's nice. My motto is listen, learn, and apply. Because when we do that, we move forward, even if it's one toe at a time, right? It's moving
Well,
forward. So thank you so much for being with us here
well,
today.
thank you for having me and allowing me this opportunity. It's been
My pleasure, anytime.
exciting. Okay.
It was wonderful. So, folks, until next time, understand it is an inside out job. His analytical of the human mind and psyche, along with the embracement of his spirit in his poetry and in his work, it allows you to do some of your own self discovery. So, let Ronald help you on your journey. Until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.